7:01, I call the meeting to order, City of University Heights City Council meeting today, September 12, 2023. Thanks everyone for attending tonight. All 5 council are present with Bobby on Zoom. And first order of business is approval of minutes, August 8, 2023. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved with unanimous consent. So we'll move right to the public hearing on a proposed amendment to the city's zoning ordinance number 79 to no less than 196 off-street parking spaces in the CH commercial hotel zone and to allow parking on yards, including grass, and in that zone on game days. So if you want to speak just on this topic, you can come to the front and state your name and address. Call the public hearing to order. Would anyone like to speak tonight?
Matt was first up on the list. I don't know.
Oh, no, that's just the sign in.
My God. Okay.
Oh, is there I'm sorry. There it is. I didn't see the list. Thank you, Pat.
My name is Pat Bauer. I live at 338 Kozer. This conceivably could be the last of 6 going back to June 13th, when the hotel owners first brought forward a proposal to leave the front area, which I'll call lot 2. And those requests for changes were subsequently considered at the June 27th special meeting, the July 11th regular meeting, July 25 special meetings, and August 8th. 2 resolutions making changes in the PUD agreement were already approved unconditionally at the July regular meeting, allowing rentals of parking spaces to non-hotel guests. Tonight's changes involve authorizing an increased number of parking spaces and sales of food and liquor in the area around the permanent sign on the otherwise vacant lot 2, which is in southeast corner of Olive Court and Melrose. As I understand things, with these changes, the paving proposal the hotel owners have initially brought forward at the beginning of June could be approved without any need for formally published notice at a single meeting by a single majority vote for the resolution. Because a change in the number of parking spaces requires ordinance change, ordinarily 3 separate approval votes required, which as things now stand might put things back until November 14th. Steve Ballard's report notes that the usually applicable 3 reading permit can be suspended by a supermajority of 4 votes. But also noted that no parking on the draft until the ordinance is changed. But he didn't mention the fact that impermissible grass parking previously periods upwards of 2 years. And continues this fall of the opening game on Maui County. The fact that non-permitted grass parking has been going on for so long would seem to undercut the notion that such circumstances warrant the suspension of the 3 meeting. A second thing that can be done tonight about any ordinance change is changing the PUD and amending the liquor license to permit food and beverage sales around the permanent sign in lot 2. Here again, Steve Ballard's report notes that these changes won't be limited to game days, and food and beverage sales at that location thus will be permitted without any apparent limitation at any other time. In a written submission to the attached to the agenda for the June 27th special meeting, I explained how all of the things the hotel wants changed were contested and initially specified back in 2017 when the zoning ordinance was changed to allow the hotel to be built. In another submission attached to the agendas for both the July 25th special meeting and the August 6th regular meeting, I urged councilors to take advantage of the things up for determination tonight, to do something to avoid maybe potentially insurmountable impediments to any future improvements of lot 2, which one of the hotel owners accurately described at the initial June meeting as, quote, just a blank lawn of dried up grass. Regrettably, that seems to be what the council may be doing tonight. One would think there might be some constructive middle ground, win-win linkage, with grass parking being approved for lot 2 without permission for food and beverage sales at that location, or perhaps approval of food and beverage sales at that location without permission for grass parking in that area. It appears the hotel is being given everything they've asked for without them being asked to give anything back in return. With some counselors seeming to agree with the hotel owners that what's good for the hotel is good for the university. Indeed, at the August regular meeting, Some councilors expressed support for excluding the hotel owners from the previously even-handedly applied requirement that zoning change applicants reimburse the city for the expenses their requests generate, even when those expenses have been increased by bringing forward half-baked solutions. Any residents taking the time to go back and view the earlier meetings, tonight's proceedings, should ask themselves which counselors are carefully analyzing things with an eye towards how residents might be affected. For instance, counselors who seem open to giving a hotel the things they want without asking for anything in return or engaging in any critical analysis. This issue will be in the rearview mirror when the next council assembles next January. But residents should be asking themselves which incumbents or challengers are exhibiting the kind of careful consideration we'd like to have to be brought to bear going forward on matters of consequence.
Thank you, Pat. Would anyone else like to speak during this public hearing? Okay, great.
Quick thing.
Why don't you just state your name for the record?
No, you don't have to state where you live.
I don't know when I wanted to say this tonight, but I didn't know when, so I'm just gonna say it now. The grass lot. I'm gonna kind of start calling it the entrance to the city, because some people have, said that. Some of the residents, area. I love the area. I think it's pretty. I'm wondering which one of those owners actually said dry up grass. It's probably Jim, but my plan, I told Tim one day that, I'm all for planting trees. There's a tree there now that's red, it's beautiful. My intentions are to bring to the city council ideas to plant and make that tree beautiful. I just want to restate that when the comment, I don't know who came up with the comment of, the entrance to University Heights. I thought that was a beautiful thing, and that resonated with me, and that's what caused me to pull back on, any idea of any parking or any paving any green space in that area. Just want that to be known and to know that I do plan on making it better than it is now. We mow it, we care that's, upkept, but I think, I think trees would be amazing there. So I do plan on putting trees. Like I said, I like the guys, but I'm gonna bounce it off in the city council and see what they think. When it comes, and we'll definitely be doing that. So I don't know what the planting season is. There's 2 times a year you're supposed to plant trees. And that's all I have for now.
Would anyone else like to speak during this public hearing? Mike, you received some correspondence.
There were 3 letters that addressed issues that came to council since the last meeting. Those were all included in the agenda and attachments. So all 3 of those did actually talk about the hotel issue for tonight. So that was from Donald Baxter, from Mary Panther, and from Mike Ritchie.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna say it one more time. Would anyone else like to speak tonight during this public hearing? Okay, it's 7:10. I close the public hearing. We'll go on to first consideration of ordinance 253, the discussion of that. And Steve, did you want to kind of give a little summary of that?
You bet. So this is the change to the zoning ordinance. The council has considered various changes to the PUD development agreement, separate document. And the zoning ordinance is stands different in a different spot than the PUD development agreement. It's an ordinance have to be voted on and approved, 3 times, and, by a simple majority vote, 3 members of the council, unless there's a collapsing of those 3 votes. The changes to the zoning ordinance have to be preceded by public, notice sent out to everybody within 200 feet of the hotel in this case, which was done by my office. There has to be a publication in the Iowa City Press Citizen, which, as you know, dropped the ball a month ago, but got it right this time. They did it twice this time. They got it right both times this time, which is good. And they didn't do it once, but anyway. So it's just different. But the substance of what the ordinance does is something that the council has discussed in recent meetings, and that is that it changes a maximum number of off-street parking spaces that would be allowed at the hotel from 196 to saying that number 196 isn't the maximum number of off-street, it's the minimum. So the hotel is required to have 196 off-street parking spaces. The precise number, I guess maximum number, there isn't a maximum number that's specified, but the precise number of spaces that would be allowed, are allowed at the hotel, and this is concerning non-game days, okay, is whatever the council has approved, right, by way of a resolution. As it stands right now, in 2020, the council approved a parking study at the hotel that specified 196 spaces. That was when the maximum was 196, but that's the status quo. That's the default, if you will. Right now, what's approved is 196 spaces. Okay? If the council adopts this ordinance, that will still be the case. There's 196 spaces that are approved. There's only 196 spaces that are allowed. Not because the zoning ordinance said you can only have 196, but because the zoning ordinance also says that if you want more, you have to have an approved site approved by resolution of the council. And the only one that's approved so far is for the 196. So what this ordinance does, what this ordinance change does, is it sets up a process for the hotel owners not to have to request and go through a zoning change, but rather to come in and say, all right, the zoning ordinance says we have to have a minimum of 196. We want to have, I'm just making this up, 210. And here's how we want to lay it out, right? And that would go to city staff. So, Terry Gerd, Brian Johnson, but I think mostly Terry and Ryan Foley, our city engineer, would look at that. Other city staff, fire, police, would have to weigh in on that. And then the council could make a decision whether to approve this request for additional spaces. That's not before you. There's not a request to specify another number, but the process is what would be changing, that you would not require a zoning ordinance change, but just approval of a resolution. Now, I guess I should say, so that doesn't apply to game day. All right, so the council has already approved the hotel parking cars on game day, and there's a resolution tonight that talks about parking cars on the grass on game day. And so, the hotel owners wouldn't be restricted to a particular number of cars on game day, and they wouldn't be restricted to a particular configuration. In other words, they wouldn't have to follow the 196 that are laid out. They would have to follow safety regulations. Okay, there were comments at different meetings by people I don't know remember who, but I remember people saying, well, why can't they park on game days like everybody else in town? And I'm not trying to take a side on that issue at all, but I will say this just to pick up on that notion. Well, unlike everybody else in town, the hotel has people, six stories up in the air. And so, and whereas a property owner, a homeowner, okay, if they want to ring their property with cars, fine, that's pretty much the way the city's always operated at the time of the city attorney. But a hotel is not in the same spot. So the hotel always has to keep drives and alleys open for emergency vehicles. that doesn't really have anything to do with the particulars of the zoning ordinance or the way the zoning ordinance is being changed tonight. That has to do with the building code, and other parts of the PUD documents that we have in place. So I did want to clarify that. I think that's everything.
Thank you, Steve. Are there any questions for Steve? Got this clarification, so. We have first consideration of ordinance number 253 before the council.
Louise,
Yes,
okay, can I move to suspend the requirement that a proposed ordinance be considered and voted upon for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting,
so
which
you-
is finally passed? Can I move to collapse these into one?
yeah, so you move that to collapse the readings. A second by Steph. Okay, discussion.
I would object to the lack of the vote on this. I think we've been going piecemeal on this, we've been looking like we're rushing through. I haven't heard of you to do this. Now we have a process, that process is put forward by our Iowa code, and I think that's involved, we didn't do that on the ACP ordinance that we're gonna vote on later tonight. And we've been discussing earlier this time. I think again, we don't need to run through this. There's no reason to do that. I think that we have the free readings, we give people a chance, you know. Maybe somebody could be able to watch the comment, I don't know, but we have a process and by them through process. I think we rarely collapse. And I don't see that this is a time to do that, especially with the controversy, I guess, you know, with all of these changes. The unease, maybe I'll revise it to the unease with all of these changes.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call vote, Mike.
Don,
Aye.
Moore,
No.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Swales.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1.
Okay, so now we have, the third final reading of ordinance number 253, amending the zoning ordinance. Before we have any further discussion, is there a motion for that?
I'll motion.
Motion by Bobby. Is there a second? I'll second. Second by Steph. Okay, so discussion.
I'll be happy to discuss. And Greg, you know, and Jim knows, I support the hotel. I have supported the hotel. I and others who have concerns about these changes are not against the hotel. And I explained when we met one-on-one that I don't see these changes as wise for the hotel, for you, yourself, for the city, or for our residents. I think it's been explained, but I'll say it again, you know, change in the zoning ordinance will mean a simple vote to approve any changes, and I don't think that's a good idea. Things might be different if the hotel were located in a highly commercialized area. It's nestled in one of our neighborhoods. And I think it is fair to expect that if you want to make a change that could affect residents, it should be publicized. Notice given, have a public hearing. I don't think that's too much to ask here. I really don't think so. And as far as game day parking, I think it's great that you're talking about planting trees. But I think we need to have a trade-off here. Instead of, okay, if he's telling us to plant trees, what have we heard before that they're gonna do, and then they don't? I'm not gonna go down the list. So why not hold off approving something until we see some progress on something like that? know, these are beautification and environmental concerns that I would imagine council members consider important. And I guess, there's no restriction here on the gang day parking other than the adequate emergency access. And I'll end this with asking our city attorney, Steve, if this ordinance is approved, who's gonna check on this? Who's gonna make sure this is being enforced? Or I would guess every game to make sure there is this emergency access. How do we ensure that?
Well, the enforcement of the building code provisions would fall on Terry Gers, building official. My pretty strong sense is that the council would need to direct Terry to, if they wanted to come out and check that. Chief Kelsey is not here, you know, it's building code isn't within the normal purview of the police department, but when it comes to a life safety thing, my sense is that the police could and would check on things like that, you know. Like, again, I don't want to speak for Chief Kelsey, but my sense is if he thought it was a gray area, he would, I'm pretty confident we contact the building official to make sure he knew what the building requirements were. But so I guess normal enforcement would be building, you know, and police, and then, but as I said, I mean, I think the way that those, I think somebody needs to tell those people, that the council needs to tell those people if that kind of enforcement needs to happen. Tell them the ones that happen.
Do we need to agree on something here, or we just say we're gonna do this and then with everybody's mind, how do we proceed?
Yes.
All right.
Good point. How do you think, so? Like, even right now, even if we did make a change to the number, even though that's not gonna block already, I mean, who needs that?
I think that, yeah, so I mean, I'll kind of give you the same answer. And I don't mean to be facetious about it. I mean, I think that the human beings or the offices that are charged with policing it are the police in some cases and the building official. But as I said earlier, I mean, you know, I don't want to speak for either one of those individuals, but I'm pretty confident that Terry Gert doesn't do a whole lot of driving around on his own just to see what's going on in town. If somebody wants to go in the bed, I think they contact him and he comes out and takes a look. Somebody has a question about the building, and he comes out and takes a look. I know he does. So I think somebody needs to contact Terry and say, all right, you know, this is what's allowed and we'd like you to go take a look at that. Who that is and what needs to happen. I think historically, I mean, you know, I don't think that that's required sort of a council vote, to, you know, we're gonna make a motion that we ask Terry to go look at this. If the council wants to do that, we can. My sense in the past is if the mayor or if the police chief or somebody else, any individual council member wanted some enforcement, or wanted some review of what was going on, they could pick up the phone and send an email and ask for it.
Where's the liability? I assume with any business, liability can fall on the property owner with it. As far as being able to get a fire truck in and, you know, heaven forbid something bad happens, would the liability be on the owner?
Liability for like
The fire truck can't get in because it's fenced off and they can't get to the building. I mean, that's why I'm wondering where are they gonna come after us? Like, hey, we just had this ordinance that coulda, woulda, versus.
Yeah, I would have a hard time, you know, sometimes over the years, I've learned one of the easiest questions people ask me as a lawyer is, can I get sued for this? Sure, you know, you can't, or you get. I don't, if there was a complete disaster, I would imagine the city might get sued for something, I don't know. But I'm not real concerned about the city's liability, it's absolutely the property liability. Bigger issue for me, of course, is, and I know it's true too, Doug, I don't mean this, but it's, you know, liability, one thing, safety, another thing. Liability speaks to what happens if there's a disaster, or safety talks about how to keep a disaster from happening. But no, the liability is clearly on the property,
Mm.
no question about it. You know, so independent of ordinance changes or how you use the parking lot, what's going on in game day. Yeah, I mean, it's incumbent upon the property owner to say what's safe here for every.
Well, I'm just looking to make sure, our, as a council, as a city, our teams across the United County that. It's something that doesn't happen, that's, I know they go after the owners, but they come after the city because we allow that, you know.
No, I'm not, as a city attorney, I'm not particularly concerned about that.
Okay.
We've allowed configuration that's approved. And if the owners adopt something else, then they're not even following our rules. So from liability standpoint, I don't know how we're,
Well,
our failure to enforce, you know, I mean, you can start drawing some lines, but I don't see that as a big.
it sounds like you have checks and balances potentially there, but. How do you kickstart it, I guess is what I think we're all looking for. We know that, you know, we should have somebody out to measure and. Yeah, but who's actually gonna do it? Like, we got to hire Terry on game day to monitor, or how does that work? Do we have to try it?
The fire department. We don't have a fire department, but they would be another organization. I mean, we don't have.
Well, we have a contract with the fire department.
But that, they would often do inspections like that.
So one of the things I guess that comes to mind, I'll repeat what I said a minute ago. I think the history of the city, in the city council has been that if anybody involved in the city government, council members, other staff, you know, calls Terry Durden and says, hey, we can take a look at something. My sense is Terry, you know, he's got a radar, a barometer. I think if he thinks it's a kind of an outlier request and he might see some other input, but my sense also is that he'll probably go do what somebody asked him to do. That probably even extends to citizens calling, although I don't know how that really happens. But so I think that's one way that the enforcement or oversight is sort of triggered. I think another way, particularly with council people asking about how to do this, you know, my suggestion is that you know, one or more council members sit down with the hotel owners, sit down with Terry Durden, sit down with Troy and say, how are we gonna do this? You know, this issue, maybe there are other issues that could be discussed there.
I think we're at a little disadvantage because Troy couldn't make it tonight. And I do think the police, they're full-time and they drive through this lot, they drive through that lot daily. I mean, I remember them talking about in the evening going, you know, checking everything and seeing if it's secure. So I think that's a good idea. I think we ought to meet with Troy, first with Troy. And you can help with that step because you're on police and see what we can do from there.
Okay.
Don't you think that'd be absolutely fair? You think that'd be okay?
As
Another,
long as we're following, right? I mean, I'm not saying if you start this, yes, you'll follow through, but I mean, continue to.
Yeah, I just think we're at a disadvantage because he knows
Oh, sure.
tonight, and I
Yeah.
think he does has the people drive through there regularly, even during football games. I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, I don't mean that I mean, as long as we continue this, you know, game days and at the end of this football season, as far as I know.
you know, in the past, it's obviously not been in any sort of compliance with the PUD. So, and if we pass measures to get us to a point where we can get close to compliance, how do we actually have accountability in that? I think is what everybody's getting to here. That it would be nice to have something that's compliant with, and then hold them to it. And live happily ever after. You know, that's one.
I would think the owner would have every incentive in the world to make that happen, more than the city would. I mean, they're gonna be knocking on his door, they're knocking on ours, so. At the end of the day, I think he would be the one that's really advocating for compliance.
Behind Kinnick Stadium, I think they have a secondary set of lines for the emergency vehicles. In between the spaces, it's not at the back of the space, it's in a little ways. So everybody knows where that is, and, they have the staff that goes up and down there, polices that, so nobody sets up their grill or whatnot. Within that path. It's always open, there might be people standing, but it'd be weird for here.
Steph and Lisa, do you want to be part of that? To meet with,
Maybe buildings on them.
okay, well, we're gonna have two council. But anyway,
Yeah, I can.
does that sound good to council to look into that further? Yes, Greg.
Since it's a discussion, can I say a couple things on that particular item? On the hotel property, it's triangle lot. There's one side of the hotel faces a railroad track, and it's wide open down that direction, we don't do anything then, and that whole face of that side of the hotel where it would obstruct any vehicles, any safety vehicles. On the opposite side of the hotel, we have airport to share the drive-through, which a fire truck, I don't even think a fire truck will be able to fit through there. So that to get to that location, or to the back side of the hotel, would be, easy to get to Porticashare, but couldn't go through the Porticashare. So the one side is completely wide open. And if fire trucks can, safety vehicles get through there relatively easy. The other thing I wanted to mention was, I don't know if a lot of people here are aware that Marriott ranks us on a GSS scores, guest satisfaction score, like about 1,300 Marriotts across the country. We're ranked number 2 in the country amongst all of our guest satisfaction scores, and that's how Marriott ranks you. But we're ranked number 2 in the country for guest satisfaction. So the reason I'm bringing that up is because for life safety, the hospitable part that every one of our staff members are just dedicated to is to our staff. And there's absolutely no way that we would put them in any kind of a life safety situation in jeopardy where we put their lives at risk. That would be bad. That it would even be considered in our minds. It's something that we build our reputation to the number 2 in the country. So we would do that for a customer. And then on day days, we actually have 4 people that police our lot at all times. 4 people. If anybody steps out of line, if anybody does anything wrong, if there's a person in the wrong spot, anything. We got 4 people the entire time policing that lot. So we police ourselves, we hold ourselves accountable, and we do the best we can to make sure that life safety is concerns.
Nobody's saying that can't be a change, but I'm almost positive we need to have a path for a fire vehicle all the way around the hood.
And 100% absolutely can,
So they can get a ladder truck up.
absolutely, there's absolutely no issues there.
On both sides.
I've had the fire chief, I've had the fire chief out there looking at it. And he actually tells me it's not a lot. And then also, we've had great buses on game days go all the way around because the wrestling team brought through the great bus all the way around one. I know very large vehicles are very easily to get around.
Okay, so Steph, you take the lead on that. Sure. And we'll follow up for next meeting. Yeah. With that, see where we are. Yep. So we're last consideration of ordinance 253. Is there any more discussion? Okay, we're ready for a roll call vote.
Moore,
No,
Schroeder,
Yes. Yeah.
Scott.
Aye.
Swales,
Aye.
Gone.
sorry.
Ordinance is adopted 4-1.
Okay, so we'll move on to, Steve, but it makes sense to follow in order here, so that we're gonna move to resolution number 2335, approving and authorizing the mayor to sign the clerk to attest to an amendment to PUD development agreement with LP or its successor in interest to no less than 196 off-street parking spaces. So Steve, would you summarize that?
So this is sort of hand in glove with the zoning ordinance that was just adopted. This particular item was before the council. I believe, oh no, I'm sorry.
No, that-
Yeah, this item just concerns a particular provision of the PUD development agreement that specifies the maximum number of parking spaces. This changes that to say what the ordinance just changed to that it's a minimum amount and that the exact configuration has to be approved by the council. And in this one, we called out the spring 2020 existing configuration that has been approved. So it does the same thing, PUD development agreement that the change to the zoning ordinance does.
Any questions for Steve? The consideration of resolution number 2335 is before the council. Could I get a motion and a second before discussion? Motion by Steph,
I'll second it.
second by Doug. Discussion. Okay, Mike, roll call vote.
Schroeder, Scott. Swales,
Aye.
Gone.
Hi.
Moore.
No.
Motion carries 4-1.
Okay, now we'll move to consideration of resolution number 2330. And this is the PUD development agreement with the University Lake Partners to permit parking on yards, including grass on game days. And this was the one deferred from August 8th. Steve,
So that's exactly right. So this changes. The council previously this summer made a change to allow parking on game days. This, I guess, enlarges that change a bit, if you want to say it that way. It says that includes you can park on yards, green spaces, grass.
any questions for Steve on this? Okay, I need a motion for resolution number 2330. Is there a motion?
I'll motion.
Motion by Bobby, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Doug. Discussion.
I'll just say again, you know, the Franklin Promise Free, you're not holding any bargaining chips, you're giving everything away. So, I just- and then we're gonna have a bit of a like lines on it, we're gonna plant trees. We're just gonna trust that, like we've done.
You want to pick up the trees?
I'm just saying, but saying, you know,
Is there anything-
sometimes things fall through the cracks.
Is there anything Greg can do to reassure us that he'll continue to follow through?
Promise?
Verbal contract?
Doug just asked a question. There's something you can reassure the council.
I promise, I don't know, I love the idea of the trees, I told everybody, it's a great idea, just. I love the red tree, and now that I'm not gonna put a parking lot on there, I got treat them, it's a great idea.
You're not gonna tailgate.
What? You can put trees and still tailgate.
Well, okay, great.
We want-
The landscape plan there. You guys. Things have fallen through the cracks before, I'm just checking. I'm not accusing you of it, I'm just saying, things have fallen through the cracks. Things have not been done that were gonna be done.
I'll let you pick out the tree and put them where you want.
They're real, deal.
The challenge with that lot is that it's got so much traffic on game day pedestrian wise, you couldn't do any low landscape and have it maintained, so the tree, overstory trees spaced out to allow the parking in between them, so much work. It's got a plan to Greg that's showing how it could work
Great, but I
like
love
that.
every time we get we, but should be community. But
Trusting him that people actually do it.
Any further discussion? Okay, we have a roll call vote for resolution 2330, right?
Scott? Swales?
Aye.
Gone.
Aye.
Moore?
No,
Schroeder?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1.
Okay, now we have consideration of resolution number 2333. This is an amendment to the PUD development agreement with University Life Partners to remove the prohibition on drive-through service areas and walk-up service windows. Steve, do you want to cover that?
Sure. So as in the course of some of the discussions, the last few months, the notion of these tents from which things have been sold, came to be a discussion point. The current PUD development agreement doesn't really permit sales outside the hotel. Of these, sales of really anything outside the hotel. The liquor permit, I guess, outside the hotel, in the little area where they have been, but in any event. That was specifically addressed in the PUD development agreement, and it was discussed back in the 2017 timeframe. With regard to a drive-through window or a walk-up service window. And so the agreement is now that unless the council approves a walk-up service window or a drive-through service area by resolution, there can't be any. There hasn't, as far as I know, hasn't been a drive-through or a walk-up window, but there certainly appears to have been walk-up sales, not to a window, but to its end or whatever it is. So the request by the hotel owners is just to sort of do away with the paragraph that's in the development agreement right now that says you have to have a resolution to have a window, walk-up window or a drive-through window. And if the council adopts this change, well then, as I said in my report, that would really permit the hotel owner to have, sales of things from about any place on their property. That's the.
Thank you. Any questions for Steve?
Would be pretty much in line with what we could be doing home buildings now for game day, 150 feet away.
I'll speak as a fan more than I don't know what the regulations say. I know they do have, they have some particular, game day regulations out there.
Okay.
In terms of what you're asking, it seems to me like this.
Only on game days or every day?
Yeah. I think only on game days, this change would not be restricted to game days, that's a good point. It would be any. Well, no, so they can't serve alcohol, drive days. That doesn't have much to the city ordinance.
Where does it drive up window? Where did that verbiage come from?
Well, it came from, a time when there wasn't a hotel sitting there, and it was very conceptual. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna wanna have a Starbucks or something? No, and so, okay, you can't have one. That's what I remember, part of the discussion point being, it was the description from the hotel developers of what they plan to do, and discussion with zoning commission, community, and city council about then what should we put in this agreement, and that's where that language came from.
Can't remember exact, don't mean to play, it's in Glasgow thing where he said like 100 times, well, yeah, we could put a coffee shop on that lot. Like the scooters, and I think when somebody got wind of that, they're like, okay, no, you don't want, we're not. gonna let you." So Jim had mentioned that several times. It's part of it.
But you don't have plans to do some sort of construction and put a drive-through, you don't have plans for a walk-up window, and, I mean, I understand, I mean, we had a one-on-one discussion about the 10th along Melrose. And this doesn't even restrict it to game day, as
No,
Tim pointed out, and
I can assure you, I do not have any plans for a drive, it's not, we're a hotel. We're a meeting space, event center, we are, a restaurant. We are not drive up at all. The main reason, and this was in our staff meeting, the main reason we even wanted to put a tent out there. We've had several people ask us to do, to promote their beer sales, or their liquor sales, or their t-shirt sales, or even jewelry. It's like, we've had tons and tons of people that ask us these questions, and they're like, no, we don't want those optics. We're not, we want to be, I don't know, respectable. We don't want to look like a, or say the shit show down on the other side of the bridge. It's not, that's not the optics that we're looking for here. We're looking for clean, organized, professional area. And literally the only reason we put that tent there is because we feel we have really good food. I love our food. And we were just, and Snell's does a great job. They have amazing food too, but we were trying to just show the public, this is the food we serve. That's why we got this tent that says The Bistro on it, because I feel like we have really good food. So we're trying to advertise to the public that this is what our food tastes like inside that hotel. And this is what we serve. And come other days other than this football Saturdays, because, we leave the business. So we're trying to promote our menu in a sense. And, drink, people on game days want beer. So instead of walking all the way in the hotel to get a beer, it's right here on the corner. Here you go. It's all about promoting our hotel, nothing about, we don't want the optics of, just ugly, something that looks like, I don't agree with that. But I have no interest in drive up. It's absolutely not.
So
but
instead of,
we're approving it in this resolution. And it's, again, as Tim pointed out, this is not limited to game day. So I'm not sure why.
I have no other times to put a tent out. There's no other reason to put a tent out, unless, I don't know, we put a tent out there for the farmers market. You can use that area for farmers market.
that open the door wide open, can you amend that to be game days and the walk-up service, not drive-through?
I'd be 100% okay with that.
Yeah, you can, I didn't, term use of look at ministers things that come from over the Lord, number yes, so what would the amendment be?
I think to amend it, to limit those occasions to game day Saturdays. And to strike, football game days Saturday. Home game, I guess. However, if you do it that.
Well, Nebraska's on a Friday, so.
Yeah,
Okay. And
Sorry.
just game days rather than a day of the week. Game days.
And what about the drive-through?
And strike and eliminate the opportunity. to drive through.
Or the illegal.
I guess it's
Striking.
Yes,
whichever way.
so you would maintain that your prior approval of the council would be required for any sort of drive-through service and walk-up service would be limited to games. Is that, do I have that right?
Just what it says now.
Did you have a question?
It says in I post what it says now. the restriction says that, same thing right now.
Just for gaming, home games.
Do you have any other reasons when you would put a tent up and?
Well, like the women's football or the women's basketball.
That's what I was
you know,
thinking.
Stuff like that, do we change it to like special events that, you know, there could be the special event thing?
Oh, like, that can, yeah, that's what I
Yes,
was
they have
saying.
the special events, they can
So they have a concert, or they have like the exhibition
That's
game.
a good idea. Well, hold on, that's a great idea, that's small, but then we just went drag ride where they're all over the place, you know. It's the other-
I don't know, I honestly don't think we need to put a restriction on it, I think that. That we just remove the prohibition to drive through service areas and walk on service windows, just flat out like it was intended. I'm honestly very. Okay with that.
If it becomes a problem down the road, can we do anything about it?
Let's see, why wouldn't we be able to?
Well, it depends. Go ahead, no. But it depends what kind of problem. I mean, again, so the way that one of the ways that the PUD development differs from, the zoning. The city council has authority within the bounds of the law to decide what the zoning ordinances and other ordinances say. This is an agreement. Okay, and so, if there's an issue and the city says, gee, we want to change this committee. Well, that takes the agreement of the heart of the party, which is the hotel.
Sure.
So that's why, I mean, there are certain kinds of problems that absolutely the city can do something about from enforcement. But the city doesn't have a unilateral, one-sided way to say we're changing this part.
Right. Okay.
I remember the beer bottle house there. Canvas spot better than the beer bottle.
So council has to come up with a consensus of how they want it worded.
So we would adopt. Special occasions like rag ride or the women's basketball game. Then do all rules apply on the football game? Okay, no.
Yeah, I mean, not really. In the past, like this summer, when the marriage proclamation, the council ratified it saying, we're gonna consider the rag ride day to be. We encourage people to, support rag. So that means parking yard, overnight bus or something, that was allowed. So that's kind of the way that the council has responded to those special events like that.
I think it's just why would you open the door to them every day, and why would you open the door to the drive-through if it's not even on radar, if it's Sunday, maybe the students, go up.
So I did want to say something about that. The idea of this provision in this PUD development agreement concerns kind of the idea of sales, all right? This doesn't have anything to do with permitting or allowing the hotel owners to build a structure that's not already there, okay? Regardless of what they're doing. Yeah, right, and not just the permit, but a change to the PUD documents and approvals. So if they wanted to build a shed to store things, they really can't do that either.
You know, they have checks and balances. Thank you.
So where we at, Louise? Can we make a motion to vote on it as written?
I think so.
Well, yeah, so I think, yeah, this is my extent of where things were. Tim sort of discussed making an amendment, and I'm not sure if he's still wanting to do that or not. If he doesn't do that, then you don't need a motion to vote on it as it's written. That's how it is written. So I guess I would probably ask him.
Why don't we review how it's written?
Yeah, so what it says, well, how it's written is it strikes everything.
Right.
Okay, so what it strikes is this language. So this language would be removed unless with the prior approval by resolution of the city council. No commercial use shall employ or have as an amenity or feature any sort of drive-through service area or walk-up service window providing service to pedestrians or to motor vehicles. So that's what the language says now, and the resolution removes that.
And that's just a
I see.
to the PUD, correct, Steve?
That's right.
So even if they wanted to build a building or any other structure or anything at all, it would still have to go through a zoning ordinance to change the conditional zoning.
It's not the condition, yes, it would, that's right, it would take much more than just this change. This change would say if you were allowed to build some other structure, you can have a drive-through window, all right? But saying that you could have a drive-through window doesn't mean you can build a structure that has a drive-through.
Right. Yeah.
That's
So this doesn't really, this doesn't really give them the ability to do anything they want forever and ever. Amen. This is just saying on game days they can put up a tent, they can promote their building, they can sell beverages and food.
Yeah, it's not limited to game days.
I could put up a tent any day of the year, so.
They could. I don't. Yeah, man. I would wonder how profitable that would be, but sure.
So it's not limited to game days. It could be every day.
Right. I will make a motion that we remove the wording for the prohibition. And
So you consider the resolution as written.
as written,
You have a motion to that.
yes.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Bobby. Further discussion. Okay, we're ready for it.
Swales,
Aye.
Gahn,
Hi.
Moore,
No.
Schroeder,
No,
Scott.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-2.
Okay. So now I'll have discussion to park cars, same as the football game day for the Sunday, October 15th women's basketball exhibition game to be held at Kinnick Stadium. This is an event, you know, I'm sure you've heard it in the news, that the women's basketball wants to fill the stadium for their exhibition game on October 15th, and several citizens have been asking, the police chief has been asking several of the council and myself, are we gonna have game day parking? So I wanted to see how the council felt about that.
The chief, because he's not able to be here tonight, just had mentioned a few things to me. And one of the things that he mentioned was that he would recommend that we do it like game day parking for home football games. That's his recommendation. I think that's fine. So I think community, guys, they bring more people to University Heights and they're gonna need places to park.
University doesn't seem to have enough parking.
No, I know.
Terrible.
No.
Yeah. So Steve, could you prepare something for the October 10th meeting? And I think that council, I see some of you shaking your head. Yes, I didn't see Lisa, but you know, that we should proceed so that residents will know that we're looking into it. Is that okay?
Can we get something before the next meeting for the websites? I mean, that's not much notice.
And say the council can consider it, seems favorable, I don't know.
Either way, we can't vote on it. So, right,
No,
they have to be on the
No.
agenda for.
Right, it's just a discussion, but people have been asking, and I think that I see Tim shaking his head, you know,
the Children's Hospital. Proceeds from the game go to Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
So if you put something on the website, can it say, since you're getting this extra day out of the parking, maybe make a donation to the Children's Hospital?
I was thinking about
We
doing
can
it
write
Friday.
it.
you go.
What Tim's talking about is the University of Iowa said, you know, they have $20 tickets, $10 tickets, $5 tickets, and the money's going through what's buildings
That's great.
for this exhibition game. So Tim's suggesting put something on the website and say, maybe you'd like to make a donation to the.
If we allow you to do this.
Yeah, yes, I donate some of my proceeds.
I'm a good person said no.
I've got 6 kids to raise. Are you kidding me? I'm totally kidding. That's just me being.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Okay, so we'll move towards that for the next meeting.
Which is the 10th of October. Okay,
Okay.
and Steve, you helped her with some words. Thank you. And so now we'll go on to regular public input. Would anyone here, okay, Greg, you want to talk today?
I was lost. And got me thinking in that direction. Some people don't know what we do at the hotel, and I thought that this could be a segue to maybe mend any frustration between city and developer. We, last year, maybe the year before, we were approached by Children's Hospital to donate rooms, and and we decided to do that. We donated about, I think it was $750,000 in rooms, so Children's Hospital for people that needed it at the hospital. And a lot of people say I should blurt that out everywhere. Well, it's not my style. The only reason I'm saying this is because he created the segue. But what made me get up here and actually say it was University Heights approved our hotel. City of University Heights allowed that hotel to go there. So in return, if they had not approved, they approved it. So I would have University Heights and say, you allowed this, which may allow us to build a hotel to be able to donate money to those children over there. So I just wanted to say thank you for doing that, and thanks for the partnership.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak during public input? About any subject? Okay, thank you. Well, Steve, you kind of, does anybody have any questions? Oh, Mike?
Just one thing on that, women's basketball game. You're gonna do it on October, the next meeting's on October 10th, and the game's what, the 15th? You know, I know that the porta pot companies, you know, we lease those things out for the year, it's for the 7 football Saturdays. And if we're gonna be parking cars on there, we're gonna have to make some kind of arrangement with whoever you have to, you know, for that, but, you know, I'm all for it, you know, they can park over there, my place for free, because I'm not gonna be over there on that Sunday, I don't think, but it's the porta pot issues and stuff that doesn't really give them companies enough notice to get them things service and stuff. It's not planning, and there will be some extra costs, I'm sure on that, you know, from at least the people that I contract with.
Okay, you know, the University of Iowa in their little blurb says no tailgating in their parking lot. It says no tailgating when they park. I mean, did you read that? And yeah, it actually says it in their little blurb about the no tailgating. So I don't know. I guess the residents can decide if they're going to use their porta potties or not. And they're just gonna park there. Does anyone think this is a big issue? It says here, crossover at Kinnick talks about the tickets, and it says, no tailgating will be permitted. Shuttle service to be determined. So there you go. It says that on this crossover. So, you know, I think they're thinking they're coming and they're gonna go right to the stadium. So I think residents will have to decide if they're gonna use their porta potties or not,
Right.
right? On a case by case basis. I think that's the answer.
Which is kind of hard to lock them up, they just don't have the locks and, facilities to do that, so.
Yeah, should we do that?
You wanna have a special meeting?
And you could, I'm saying that.
What?
Had it done earlier.
Steph and Tim are suggesting that. We could look into that, when would be enough?
Well, Louise, I'll contact Rob and Cindy from Blue Moon,
Well, we need-
tomorrow, and I don't know, that's just the company that I go through. And see what their thoughts are on that, and it might not be such a big deal where they have to be serviced. And stuff, I'd like to have mine service if, you know, even if a handful of people are going
Well,
there.
we usually look at Tuesdays. I have, oh geez, the 26th of September, it's the 15th. I don't know, can we look at our calendars? We could do as,
Is,
what do you have?
yeah, is next week too soon?
You mean next Tuesday? Yeah. I know I have something that day.
Louise, what are we talking about? A special meeting to approve whether or not we want to allow parking on the grass for the crossover game?
Yes. You got it.
Does many of the council think they're going to change their mind between now and a special meeting?
No.
I know,
I don't think I'm gonna, well, I guess I would have to become privy to some substantially different information, but I kind of know how I would fall on that. Unless they're, you know what I'm saying? Like
you know, it's just about the porta potties, right? I
Oh,
find
okay.
that each one can do it on a case by case basis, but
Okay.
some of the council wanted to decide sooner. But I don't know, what do you think?
I mean, case by case basis, then.
Well, in that, I'm not
and-
gonna use a porta potty, you can park here, but no porta potty,
Okay.
and no tailgate. Just park here, go.
Case by case basis and not have a special meeting.
No,
or that we
case
just-
by case basis of whether they let them use a porta potty or not.
Right. But have a special meeting to decide if we're going to do this.
Well,
I think
that was
that
suggested,
I
and
thought-
Bobby's now suggesting, is anybody gonna change their mind? We're gonna do this on October 10th, we're gonna go ahead and,
I would just like to let people, I mean, personally, I don't care if people want to park on my grass. Or I talk to the people who park on, you know, for football game days, and they're like, I don't know if we're going to come or not. I don't get the feeling that there's going to be a huge demand, just like there was for football games. But you know, who knows? But I just think I don't personally. I'm good with it if people want to try it. I think it's a really cool thing that they're doing. They're trying to fill a stadium with it for a women's basketball game. I think they're going to need somewhere to park. And personally, I'm think it's okay to be a part of that, especially because those proceeds are going for a good cause. And so, I don't know that I need to do a special meeting to know how I'm going to vote on that.
okay.
But I'm, you know,
agree with
open
that.
to other ideas.
Do what the council says.
I certainly couldn't approve it tonight, but then I need to.
You can't adopt it, I mean, tonight, because it's not on your agenda, but I think you reached a consensus, which probably will get the word out, and if you think you want to formalize that ahead of the 10th, the next meeting, then I suggest you have a special meeting, if you think you can wait till then, I think you should wait till then.
Word of mouth and vote on it on, I mean, how's that?
Well, I'm just saying, they're saying no tailgating at the university, so I was thinking there's just a parking area. And so, it's just gonna be confirmed at October 10th. But the intention is to put out there, the council's gonna approve parking on grass. Yes. For October 10th,
Right,
I mean, for October 15th.
yeah.
Are you unhappy with that? City attorney?
No.
You want to be right there?
What did you guys do when that country concert was here? Remember?
We didn't park for that.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Well, I tried to put it on the agenda so it could be decided, and you told me to put it like this. So, what's council's intention? Who's intending on letting people park on grass for this October 15th? Yeah. Probably.
Well, yes, but not on my grass, but.
Park in my driveway, but I don't let anybody park on my grass ever, but. Yeah, Bobby's raising his hand. Okay, so let's just go ahead with the intention that we'll just approve it. Are you okay with that, Steve? Approve it on the 10th, but we can tell
write it out
Troy
there
that he's gonna tell people, the council's gonna approve that you
plans
can,
to approve this.
okay?
Yep.
And you're happy with it? Okay, good. Thank you.
So meeting that,
No. Is there any questions for Steve with legal report? He has a couple more things later on. Then we'll go to the clerk's report.
The only other thing besides my written report, I mentioned that, and this is not changing not changing a liquor permit, but Marriott did submit a smaller map that they would like to be that they would like to have be considered as their outdoor service area. Let me show you. This is the outdoor service area for the top floor, which is the Heights. And that's first floor, excuse me. This is the service area in red for the Heights rooftop, which includes the far right-hand side is outdoors in a sense that it's doesn't have a roof on top of it. Yeah, okay, left hand. I don't know my right from my left. And then would also like to have the area near the sign considered as an outdoor service area, as opposed to the map that they'd originally submitted that had the entire property as an outdoor service area. So this is back to, these two maps are what had been the service area on previous liquor licenses. This would be the only new additional area and to revoke what had been their area previously that had the entire property outlined. So to me, it would make sense that you consider this outdoor service area part of the bistro because that's the first floor and close to it. So a simple motion saying adopting this new outdoor service area map. And then I will post that map with the alcoholic beverages division.
I'll motion to adopt the new modified area.
So the thing at the curb goes with the bistro.
Goes with the bistro. The rooftop is the rooftop. I think that makes the most sense on that.
So there would be two votes.
Okay, Bobby made a motion.
Lisa's asking about, yeah, I see what Lisa's saying is that because that map was associated with both, that you associate the first floor and the circled area with the bistro, you associate the Heights rooftop with the red area that they have there, that it goes back to that previous map, right? That's what you're saying?
And we vote on each one. Okay, we vote on each one. Because that's what we did last time.
That's true. That's true. Okay. The licenses are separate, the maps will be separate with each one, yes. So Bobby, not as the clerk and making a motion, you're
Yep.
moving to approve the new bistro map first?
Yes.
Yes. to amend bistro map.
And there's a second by Steph.
Okay,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Opposed?
Okay.
carried 4-1.
so
Okay.
4-1. And then you have the second one.
Is there we'll need a motion to approve the amended Heights rooftop map.
Motion.
Okay, a motion by Bobby and a second by Steph. To amend the rooftop map. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay,
We're good.
thank you.
0. So, do you have anything else?
I don't think so. No.
Thank you. So let's do treasurer's report and John. Hi, John, you sent an updated warrants list.
I sent an original list and then I sent an updated list because I decided to double check emails and I saw an email from Ryan regarding the Midwest Concrete. Approved payment for. I forget which intersect.
Yeah, okay.
I was going to ask it, yes. And then what didn't get sent out, there's a invoice for travelers insurance for $246. It's a crime policy. Was normally paid through another package through Des Moines, but it's being separated out for us to pay it separately because apparently we can pay it sooner.
And in that warrants list is Ryan's payment for Midwest Concrete.
Right, yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, payment number 2, yes.
And you included the travelers. check.
Yes, I got it printed. You know,
Okay, very good.
yes.
So did everyone understand the list of the warrants? Okay. Is there any objection to paying the bills? Hearing none, the bills will be paid by unanimous consent. John, do you have any other thing you wanted to add?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for checking on some bills and things. I appreciate that because, you know, you're still new and we need to figure some of these things out. And I know I talked to Steve Cool and he's gonna be working with you in the next, I think you know that, he'll be
Yes.
working with you in the next couple of months, so that'll be good. So we'll go to police report and committee report, and Steph, you're gonna.
Yep.
Go through some of that.
So just a few things that the chief wanted me to relay to you guys. Number one, there were 0 issues during the first football game. Post football, the porta potties and trash, there were a few issues. He had spoken to Brian Jensen and they're addressing it with the owners. In anticipation of council approving the ATE ordinance, he's been working with Genoptics toward the installation of the cameras. And the last thing he wanted me to touch base on was the basketball game on October 15th, whether we wanted to allow parking for that or not. But those are the main things. And I know that we've got this consideration of resolution or ordinance 252, and I'll just make a motion.
Okay, thank you. You're making a motion for the third consideration of ordinance number 252. Authorizing establishment and implementation of an automated traffic enforcement system and establishing civil fines. Motion by Stephanie, is there a second?
Okay.
Second by Doug. Discussion. Roll call vote.
Gone,
Aye.
Moore, Schroeder.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Swales.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. The ordinance is adopted.
Okay. Anything else for staff? Okay, thank you. We'll go on to consider resolution 2334. And this has to do with a payment for the city's municipal insurance package with an annual premium in the amount of $10,899. And Steve put this in his report about that. And I don't know, you want to give a brief summary to the public here?
There was just a timing issue with renewal of the policy and, you know, it came up at an off, you know, but in between meetings, and so it was important enough that, you know, I suggested to the mayor. I think it told us, and then we told the mayor to do things, so you have to say that, so. The mayor instructed John to pay it, so the insurance premium got paid. Mike worked with the insurance people, and maybe released it to get the application in place, and so. What this resolution does is it just ratifies all that, renews the insurance coverage.
So consideration of resolution 23-24 is for the council. Is there a motion?
I'll motion.
Motion by Lisa. Is there a second?
Scott,
Okay, second by Bobby. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Moore,
Aye.
Schroeder, Scott, Swales,
Aye.
Gone.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. We'll go on to the engineer report and Ryan. We already did the pay application, so.
Yeah.
You've been busy.
Yeah, I guess that was, probably the first thing was just, we had the consideration of the pay application for. Pay application number 2 for Oakcrest Avenue and Mahaska Drive intersection improvements. Which was in the amount of $3,584.16. Just in case you had seen that, value, that was for the sod that was installed, a couple weeks ago. So construction update on that project, sod's been installed. They're watering the sod as they are supposed to do. And then we issued a punch list with a few minor things. But we should be wrapping that one up here in the next month. So Metronet did another review of the sod for Metronet. They've built areas that are not taking, so they also had a street panel replacement, which we talked about at the last meeting. At that time, when I met with their contractor, we looked at it. It was right in front of a curb ramp that's on Grand Avenue and Sunset intersection, North Sunset intersection, which did not have detectable warnings on it. So I kind of made the spot decision to just go ahead and get that replaced and add the detectable warnings to make it ADA compliant, which is something which you are supposed to do if you're removing and replacing more than 50% of that crosswalk, which Metronet was doing, and they were paying for the street panel replacement. So that was a city cost. It was $1,200 and it was included in the one. So in case anybody didn't see that one. Let's see, Metronet. Hopefully, I can get that wrapped up here with them in the next month with sod replacement. George Street cul-de-sac, I sent an agreement and quotation form to Lynch Excavating and trying to get this one finalized. I guess just to get ahead of it, what I'm thinking and what I've told them, the best timing for that work. And I know we've been talking about this for a couple meetings, but this is the cul-de-sac of George Street off of Melrose here. So obviously kind of big game day area. So there is a bye-week. And then there's no waiting in the week after. I don't remember the exact dates, it's at the end of October, for last week of October, 13th of November there. I'm thinking that's probably the most ideal time to do that when we're doing replacement. And the intent would be to do that half width at a time to allow access to the residents that are inside the cul-de-sac there still. So a couple of those details I'll just keep working through with Lynch. Monroe Creek improvements. I told you last meeting we were gonna get started on this, and then the contractor excavated the existing gas main, and we discovered it wasn't where I thought it was. So I had to have a meeting with Mid-American Gas, and their input was that we really should get the gas relocated and wait to do the work until they could have a chance to do that. So so that's ultimately what we decided after some feedback and different reviewing different options and scenarios. That was decided that would be the best thing to do, which I talked about with Louise and Doug a little bit also. So that's what we're doing. Mid-Am told me last week that they plan to submit their plans this week. for that work, and then they might have a crew available a couple weeks after that, so their original target was mid-October to be done, and that's still kind of on track, so. As far as the roadway work, we're gonna have to assess what the weather's doing and kind of keep coordinating with the contractor on sort of whether we start that work yet this fall or push it till the spring, and B, just make sure we're ready to shut down and get things reopened if the weather turns. Yeah, so. Pavement markings, again, like we talked about, the contractor last month had reported that they were done, and then that night at the council meeting, it was clear that they weren't done, so I followed up with them. And they, I believe they've pretty much finished up. There's a couple things I'm gonna double check and then get back with them on quantities, but we don't have a invoice or pay application from them yet. Gulfview Avenue drainage channel maintenance. Spoke with this contractor yesterday. The retaining wall blocks for the adjacent property owners, slope stabilization work, have been delivered, and he's wrapping up another project. He expects to begin this work next week, the second half of next week. Highland Drive and Ridgeview Avenue, these are a couple new ones on the report. So city council approved both of these projects in the current 2023-2024 fiscal year budget for design and bid this fall and winter, and then in order to be constructed next summer. So these were a couple we reviewed and discussed during budgeting in April. So we do plan to combine these two projects, because that was also the feedback that we received from council was, you know, there's a little bit more funding now, so we'd like to try and make these projects bigger to make them a little bit more cost effective. So that is our plan. But if the budget situation change, we can separate the two projects. It's just going to take a little bit of work on the plan side of things, the actual print sheets. We did complete survey work this last month. And I've got a couple guys in our office starting to look through that, work on laying out some design stuff, so print sheets. Miscellaneous items, I was on Benton Street corner again today, coordinating with Iowa City, and I'll be out at their progress meeting tomorrow morning to discuss some signal questions there on Benton and Sunset intersection. But that corner they were forming up the sidewalks today, so expect that work to be kind of hopefully wrapping up on our corner in about a week or so. Yeah. And then Unite Private Networks was just a carryover from last month also. That fiber line work is completed, and I'm just gonna be following up with restoration. Talked to that contractor yesterday.
Any questions for Ryan?
The sod at both Preston and Mahaska, it took a while for him to place it, but it blended.
Yeah, it looked very good. I didn't know when they were gonna do that work. I asked them to let me know so we could be on site beforehand, so I could discuss that.
I said they would hold all the big week before they.
They did, yeah. They didn't tell me then when they were gonna be on site, so I'm gonna let them out there. But
What was the only green grass scene? We should done that.
hopefully everybody in that neighborhood is happy with that project. I think it.
Do we need to vote on the consideration of the application?
That was in the warrant.
Oh, you already did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in the warrant. I'm not sure on those, like, I guess. They're in the warrants. I think that's typical for the city. That's how we've done other ones previously. But I'm out of order. So I'm gonna.
I couldn't believe it was only 3,500. Aren't they always like, you know, tens of thousands of dollars?
Yeah,
It's like,
right.
this can't be the right.
Yeah, I mean, there will be one more pay application, there's retainage, so we have 5% retainage. I think
Okay.
it'll be around
So we'll be number
$6,000.
3.
Yeah, and so we don't approve and release that until we have a final pay application, which means all the punch list things are done and they have submitted like as-built in their maintenance line, but.
And it sure looks nice.
And then we should approve the resolution. because that goes beyond what-
Yeah, right. Yeah, Steve's right. So when we do the final, we do like a resolution for final acceptance, right? From the city. that all the punch lists and all those requirements of the contract have been completed.
Any other questions for Ryan? Okay, we'll go to Tim, building zone. Do you have anything, Tim?
Just the little thing, there were Airbnb at 332 Kozer. Guess I got a complaint that nobody was mowing the parkway on Roads and Brian. I think that's taken care of under.
Oh, good.
I think the last.
Yeah.
Thank you. E-government, Lisa, you sent a report around.
I did, and I just kind of coming out. We have the refuse recycling date change after Labor Day, that
Good.
anybody.
Just been like that.
There you go.
So, you will notice in my report, residents can subscribe to notify me on the city website and get notifications about this, and I can specifically just sign up at the refuse and the recycling. Well, also respecting and all of that stuff. And the next ones that I have, we're not changing for Columbus Day. There's a question still maybe about Thanksgiving, but
Yeah, later.
Christmas and December, so that's in Christmas in December and New Year's January 3rd. But that's in my report, so it's 20 other things.
Yeah, well, whenever it's a holiday that week on a Monday, they're always gonna move it to a Wednesday. And I thought, everybody knows this, right? So I go outside, my husband had already moved it in and I had to pull back in. And then go around the neighborhood and say, no.
I think everybody on the.
I know, that was like, oh my goodness,
Well, my neighborhood was looking good in the evening and in the morning.
they put them all.
They were all active. So
I knocked on a lot of doors.
yeah, so these are scheduled to go out the week ahead of these
Yeah.
days. So it's not that they're being notified now.
So anyway. So thanks for putting all those dates on there and updating the police thing. I haven't had a look at that yet. But, oh, and then we could sign up. You have a link to sign up. Which is good. So thanks for getting that all together. And you have the dates for the leave pickup too. Did you say that?
They're in here.
Yeah.
They're on the calendar, they're not highlight yet, and I guess I just do wanna. Is this the end of the farmer's market this month?
Yeah, you wrote down the 26th. Didn't I see you write that? Yeah,
Just wanted to check.
that's the last. 26th of September is the last farmer's market. And then, okay, so we go to announcements. Are there any announcements? So is there any objection to adjournment? Hearing none, the meeting's adjourned by unanimous consent. Thanks, everyone. Go Hawks.